Hey guys. All right, we are on lesson 10, which means we're almost done. There's only 12 lessons in this unit, so we're almost finished. And then next Tuesday, when you come in for packet pickup at the school, we'll have your new packets for you and new CKLA workbooks. It's going to be probably the coolest unit ever. So I'm not going to tell you what it is, though. You'll have to wait and see. Come and visit me on Tuesday. So lesson 10 officially starts on page 147 with the vocabulary, because we have a new vignette to read, and it's kind of a weird one. It's a bit strange, and I'll explain why once we get there. But first we need to read the vocab. So first word is barely, and that's an adjective. It means only just, almost not. So if you are barely tall enough to ride a ride at an amusement park, then you're only just tall enough. You're just past what you need to be, okay? So barely. Cinnamon, I think we probably know what cinnamon is. It's a noun. It's a kind of spice, like cinnamon rolls. Yeah. Next word is porcelain, and that's a noun. Almost transparent china. And china is like the dish, like, like teacups or like fancy plates and stuff are made of porcelain sometimes. So it's a material, and it's like, the old school, like kind of creepy dolls, their faces, like their heads were made of porcelain, and some like teacups and plates and stuff I was saying are made of porcelain. And it says it can have veins, like veins in your hands and your skin, a little bit like the hands of an elderly person. Okay, so porcelain. So you're just thinking like something really thin, fragile, breakable, okay? Satin, that's a noun. It is a smooth, shiny fabric, okay? So it's like a fancy, shiny fabric. And the last word is selfish, and that's an adjective. And that's when you're only thinking about oneself. So you're selfish if you only think about yourself, right? Okay, so like I said, kind of a weird lesson, kind of a weird story. It begins on page 132, and it's titled The Three Sisters, okay? And I mean, even the picture for this one's a little bit creepy. So this vignette, this chapter, is kind of more like a myth. It's kind of mysterious and creepy and spooky and kind of odd. And I'm just going to set it up for you guys a little bit, tell you the setting, kind of what's happening, because as we read through it, it starts a bit confusing, okay? Because I know this whole unit, really, this whole book, each chapter is a bit confusing. I feel like I have to do a lot of explaining to talk about like what's going on during this part, because remember, we're just getting excerpts, we're just getting little sections of it, so I don't know if we're skipping a lot of chapters where it does more explaining and that's why it's a bit confusing, but maybe that's just how the book is. So in this vignette, this chapter, you remember the girls that she met before, Lucy and Rachel, the two sisters? They had another sister, a baby sister, who died, okay? And we don't know how, it doesn't explain anything like that. So Lucy and Rachel had a sister that died. And so Esperanza, our main character, our narrator, is at their house for kind of like the funeral or like the memorial, like a get-together to, memorialize and grieve the little baby sister's life, okay? And so at this little funeral at their house, Esperanza meets the three sisters. So that's not Lucy and Rachel and their sister, their baby sister. This is like three old ladies that Esperanza meets at the funeral, okay? So that's where she is and who she's meeting, and it's a bit strange, okay? So there's your setting. You're prepped and ready. I'll zoom in a little bit. Remember, you can read this by yourself, track it while I'm reading it, however you want to do it, okay? Begins on page 133. They came with the wind that blows in August, thin as a spider web and barely noticed. Three who did not seem to be related to anything but the moon. One with laughter like tin, and one with eyes of a cat, and one with hands like porcelain. The aunts, the three sisters, las comadres, they said. Okay, so this paragraph is describing the three old ladies, the three sisters who are at this funeral, okay? So there's one, it doesn't name them, which is confusing, so we don't know their names, but there's one with laughter like tin. Okay, so if you want to circle that, that'll help us later. There's one with eyes of a cat, so cat-like eyes, so it's kind of cool. And one with hands like porcelain. So that's the only way that they're described. We don't know their names, okay? So if somebody has laughter like tin, tin is like metal, like tin cans, like the little metal cans that food, canned food. So if somebody says they have laughter like tin, it's kind of like the sound that hitting a little metal can would make. It's kind of a strange laugh. One of them has eyes like a cat, and one has hands like porcelain, so like thin, fragile hands with veins and stuff, okay? So they are aunts, they're three sisters. All right, second paragraph. The baby died, Lucy and Rachel's sister. One night a dog cried, and the next day a yellow bird flew in through an open window. Before the week was over, the baby's fever was worse. Then Jesus came and took the baby with him far away. That's what their mother said. Okay, so it doesn't explain really how the baby died. It just said baby had a fever, okay? Then the visitors came, in and out of the little house. It was hard to keep the floors clean. Anybody who had ever wondered what color the walls were came and came to look at that little thumb of a human in a box like candy. So lots of visitors came to visit and grieve for the baby sister. I had never seen the dead before. Not for real, not in somebody's living room for people to kiss and bless themselves and light a candle for, not in a house. It seems strange. They must have known, the sisters. They had the power and could sense what was what. They said, "Come here," and gave me a stick of gum. They smelled like Kleenex or the inside of a satin handbag, and then I didn't feel afraid. "What's your name?" the cat-eyed one asked. "Esperanza," I said. "Esperanza," the old blue-veined one repeated in a high, thin voice. "Esperanza, a good, good name." "My knees hurt," the one with the funny laugh complained. "Tomorrow it will rain." "Yes, tomorrow," they said. "How do you know?" I asked. "We know." "Look at her hands," Cat-Eyed said, and they turned them over and over as if they were looking for something. So the three sisters are talking back and forth to Esperanza during this part. And this page. "She's special. Yes, she'll go very far. Yes, yes. Make a wish." "A wish?" "Yes, make a wish. What do you want?" "Anything?" I said. "Well, why not?" I closed my eyes. "Did you wish already?" "Yes," I said. "Well, that's all there is to it. It'll come true." "How do you know?" I asked. We know. Esperanza, the one with marbled hands, called me aside. Esperanza. She held my face with her blue-veined hands and looked at me. A long silence. "When you leave, you must remember to always come back," she said. "What?" "When you leave, you must remember to come back for the others. A circle, you understand? You will always be Esperanza. You will always be Mango Street. You can't erase what you know. You can't forget who you are." Then I didn't know what to say. It was as if she could read my mind, as if she knew what I had wished for, and I felt ashamed for having made such a selfish wish. "You must remember to come back for the ones who cannot leave as easily as you. You will remember?" She asked as if she was telling me. "Yes, yes," I said, a little confused. "Good," she said, rubbing my hands. "Good. That's all. You can go." I got up to join Lucy and Rachel, who were already outside waiting by the door, wondering what I was doing talking to 3 old ladies who smelled like cinnamon. I didn't understand everything they had told me. I turned around. They smiled and waved in their smoky way. Then I didn't see them, not once or twice or ever again. Okay, so that's the whole vignette. It is a bit strange, a bit spooky, a bit weird, right? So, on this page, when she starts talking to them, it's a little bit confusing because it doesn't explain who's doing the talking during which parts. Okay, so that's what we got to figure out for ourselves. And on the next couple pages, that's what we're doing. But here, you know, they're asking asking Esperanza what her name is, and they say it's a good name. One of them complains that their knees hurt, and then says tomorrow will rain. And then they all agree, yeah, tomorrow, and they know it's going to rain somehow. So maybe you know somebody who's like that. Usually it's like older people who, like, if their knee starts hurting or their hip or their back, they think it's a sign that it's going to start raining. So that's kind of funny. That's what these ladies are talking about. And then they're looking at her hands, which is strange. And then they say that she's special. So they're saying Esperanza is special and she'll go far. And then they tell her to make a wish. So she is closing her eyes and wishing for something. And it doesn't tell us exactly what Esperanza wished for. So we have to infer that for ourselves. We have to guess what she wishes for. And we'll write that down here in a second. And then they said, well, it'll come true. And Esperanza asked, how do you know? And they said, we know. They sound super smart, creepy old ladies. And then one of them, the one with marble hands, so the porcelain-handed lady, pulls Esperanza aside and is talking to her and telling her that when you leave, you have to remember to come back. So this whole thing, she's telling Esperanza, come back, remember to come back for the others. It's a circle. You know, you'll always be Mango Street. You'll always be a part of this neighborhood. You'll always be a part of these people. You have to come back. You can't forget who you are. And then Esperanza says that she felt ashamed for making such a selfish wish. So we kind of have to guess what she wished for. So these ladies are like telling her basically like, yeah, you're going to leave here one day, but you have to come back for your family and, you know, to visit them and to help them. So they kind of sound like witches almost. Like I feel like they're witches. Or like, have you guys ever seen Hercules with the old ladies who have like cut the strings? That's kind of what it reminds me of. So it sounds like they can almost like tell the future in like a weird spooky way. And they're kind of telling Esperanza like, yeah, you're going to leave here. You're going to have a great life, but come back and help your family out and help the people in this neighborhood. And right. And then she leaves and never sees them again. Right. So I didn't see them not once or twice or ever again. Odd, right? Kind of a strange thing. So on page 138, I'll zoom back out a tiny bit. We've got our activity pages, okay? Sorry, it's shaking. So it says read the excerpt below. So we'll read this section, and then we have to add the dialogue over here to this page, okay? So, what's your name? The cat-eyed one asked. Esperanza, I said. So, maybe I can zoom out enough to show you both pages. It'll be tiny, but that's okay. Okay, I think it fits mostly. So, over here, sorry, the instructions are on both sides. So we read this, whatever dialogue is here, we're adding it to this side in these boxes, and we write which sister said it, okay? Or Esperanza. Or I think we just want to write what the sisters say. So we're going to leave out Esperanza's words from that side, okay? So the first thing is, what's your name? The cat-eyed one asked. So in the first dialogue box, she says, and we're adding quotation marks even though they didn't. She asked, what's your name? Okay, and which sister was it? Was it cat-eyed, hands like porcelain, or laughter like tin? So for that one, it was cat-eyed. Okay, so I'll try and show both parts. And Esperanza said her name. Esperanza, the old blue-veined one, repeated in a high, thin voice. Esperanza, a good name. So she's just kind of repeating her name. Esperanza. Okay, Esperanza, the old blue-veined one, repeated. So, blue-veined, that would be the hands like porcelain, right? The thin, like, bony hands, so, oh, no, quotation marks, hands like porcelain. Remember, we don't know the old ladies' names, we just know how to describe them as cat-eyed, hands like porcelain, or laughter like tin. That's the only 3 ways we know how they were described. And then one said, my knees hurt. The one with a funny laugh complained. So, my knees hurt was the next thing they said. Oops. Knees hurt. And it said, the one with a funny laugh complained. That would be laughter like tin. Okay. Laughter like tin. Okay. Tomorrow it will rain. Yes, tomorrow, they said. So I think that's all of them saying that. So tomorrow it will rain. It will rain. And then they said, yes, tomorrow. Yes, comma, tomorrow. And that's all of them. All 3 of them. All of them. So all 3 sisters are saying, like, yes, it'll rain tomorrow. Got it. And then Esperanza asks, how do you know? I asked, so we're leaving that out because that's Esperanza. We know. So if they said we know, that must be all of them, right? So we know. And that, again, was all of them. Okay, and then the last one. Look at her hands, cat-eyed said. So, she said, look at her hands. And which one said that? That would be cat-eyed. Okay. So it's kind of confusing, the dialogue back and forth, because there's lots of characters and they don't really name them. They don't tell us their names, they don't tell us who's talking, so it's kind of confusing having to figure that out. So if you need to pause on this page to write down the dialogue and who said it, pause here, figure it out. And then I'm going to the next page. Okay, on these 2 pages, we're doing something similar. Okay, again with dialogue, again trying to figure out who's saying what. So it says, now look at the rest of the excerpt below. Next to each line, write whether it's Esperanza or the sisters who are saying or doing something. You'll have to use clues to decipher. Decipher means to figure out who is speaking. So if it's the sisters talking, we're going to write an S. If it's Esperanza talking, we're going to write an E. Okay? And I don't care if you put it before the line or after. It's whatever you want to do. Okay? So she's special. That would be the sisters saying that. Yes, she'll go very far. Also the sisters. Yes, yes, Also Esperanza. Make a wish. A wish? Question mark. So I think this part, make a wish, was from the sisters. But then Esperanza was like, a wish? What do you mean a wish? Why do I make a wish? She was confused. Okay, so that one was Esperanza, but that one was the sisters, I think. Okay, yes, make a wish. What do you want? That was the sisters. Anything, I said. That was Esperanza. Wondering why she's making a wish and what should she wish for? Well, why not? Sisters. I closed my eyes. So if it said I, that's our narrator in first person, that's Esperanza. Did you wish already? That's the sisters asking. Yes, I said. Esperanza. Okay, so we're just labeling down the side. Pause there if you need to catch up. There's another page. Just this page though. Okay. Well, that's all there is to it. It'll come true. That was the sisters telling her, good job for wishing. Now it'll come true. How do you know? I asked. Esperanza's asking. We know, sisters. Esperanza, the one with marbled hands, called me aside. Esperanza. She held my face with her blue-veined hands and looked at me. A long silence. When you leave, you must remember to always come back, she said. So that whole paragraph is all sisters. Looking at Esperanza, holding her face. And then Esperanza says, what? I wish I could say it like a minion. What? That's as close as I could get, sorry. When you leave, you must remember to come back for the others. A circle, understand? You'll always be Esperanza. You will always be Mango Street. You can't erase what you know. You can't forget who you are. The whole thing was the sisters talking to Esperanza. Okay? So, back and forth. Sounds like these sisters are going to make Esperanza's wish come true. So, somehow, I don't know how. They're magical. Okay. Questions on this page about that vignette. Complete the questions below. Esperanza says, I felt ashamed for having made such a selfish wish. What do you think Esperanza's wish was? Find clues in the text to back up your answer and make sure you put lines from the text in quotation marks. Okay, so this is an opinion question. It's what do you think she wished for? You can, and I would think back to previous chapters we've read, okay? It doesn't really tell us much about her wish or what she wants in life in this chapter. It just tells us that it was a selfish wish. So she wished for something for herself. She didn't wish for the betterment of others. She's wishing a selfish wish. So what does Esperanza want? What does she want in life? What would she wish for? What do you think she wished for? Okay, so you can make an inference. It's up to you. But try and use clues from the text to back up your answer is what it says. So I think Esperanza wished for okay, and I'm going to tell you what I think she wished for, but if you have a different idea, if you have different evidence that tells you that Esperanza would have wished for something different, write that down. Okay, totally fine. I think Esperanza wished for a nice house, a nice new house. Nice new house for herself, right? Because it was a selfish wish. So that's what I think she wished for. If you have a different idea, write it down, okay? Number 2, one of the sisters says, a circle, understand? Which sister says this? Ooh, okay, so I'm gonna go back to my chart when I labeled. Is this one of the things nope, nothing about the circle. Okay, so I'm gonna go back into my story right here. Okay, in this part, a circle, understand? You'll always be Esperanza. Okay, but who's talking about this? I need to go back up here to figure that out. Esperanza, the one with marble hands, called me aside. Okay, so this whole section is all coming from the porcelain hands lady, okay? So which sister says that? The sister with porcelain or blue veined hands. Porcelain, P-O-R-C-E, yep, porcelain hands. Okay, and what do you think she meant by a circle? So how is it a circle? What is she talking about? And remember, it's what do you think? So you're inferring. What do you think she meant by a circle? In that section, she's talking about how if you leave, you have to remember to come back for others. A circle. You'll always be Esperanza. You'll always be Mango Street. You can't erase what you know. You can't forget who you are. So what do you think she means? How is it a circle? Okay. I think what she means is that if you leave Mango Street, one day you have to come back to help others, and Mango Street's always going to be a part of you. Okay. So it's like a cycle. You're leaving, but come back to help others, right? So if you leave, you have to come back. If she leaves, she should come back to help others. That is what I think. If you think something different, obviously write it down. What quotes in the text back up your answer? So how do I know that? Why do I think this? Okay. I'm going to go back to that section of the excerpt right here. Okay. You must remember to come back for the ones who cannot leave as easily as you. Right? I feel like that's a good text evidence. That's a good quote, right? So you must remember to come back. You must remember to come back. And then there was one sentence after that. For the ones who cannot leave as easily as you. For the ones who cannot leave as easily as you. Okay. So I think it means like Esperanza's going to have an easier time leaving. Maybe Esperanza's got stuff going for her that, you know, she'll be able to leave Mango Street and go make something of herself. Whereas other people, maybe family, neighbors, whatever, can't leave. Okay, they aren't going to be able to be successful anywhere else. Maybe they'll just have to stay there and live, you know, the lives that they're living. But Esperanza will go and be something bigger. But she should come back, remember to come back, and help the ones who can't leave. Okay? All right, so that's all the questions there. If you need a pause to catch up, please do. The next part we're working on is writing. So on this page, on page 143, we are continuing the stories that you started writing, okay? So back in lesson 5 on page 98, I'll go back there. I mean, I didn't write it, you wrote it, but 98, okay? So on page 98, flip back to 98, read what you had written, okay? Because you started a story about aspiration, about goals, right? So you introduced your character, you described your character, what they look like, what their personality is like. You introduced their aspirations, so what goals in life does that character have? And you described the setting, okay? So you started a story all about that character. We're continuing that story right here. So I need you to go back to page 98 first and read what you had written. Okay, otherwise your story is going to be a bit jumbled and disjointed. We need to just continue what we wrote before. So you will introduce your character to new people who may be from the same community or somewhere else. Those new people should make your character consider his or her aspirations in a new way. You should start to plan and write your chapter now and continue to work on it tonight. Tonight, right? We're not at school, so you don't have to take this home to work on it tonight for homework because you're at home, you're working on it all the time. You will write a concluding chapter tomorrow. So in the next lesson, lesson 11, we'll add another chapter, but right now you're doing your second chapter. So fill in this table, character's name from your story. So what is your character's name? Main character, okay? What was that person's name? If you need to look back, look back. Main character, what was their name? We started writing the story on 98, but right here on page 94 was when we started filling out the chart. So your character's name should be right here. Whatever your main character is, copy that name here. And then you have to think of a new character or characters, maybe there's more than one, that your main character is gonna meet in this chapter. So just like Esperanza met the 3 creepy old sisters, who is your main character going to meet in this chapter? Okay, so think of a name, think of some characters, and now think about these things when you're talking about your characters, okay? Where is your main character going to meet these people? What do they look like? What do they sound like? How are they dressed? What are they gonna say to your character? How does your character respond to them? And what does your character think about his or her aspirations before meeting these new people? And are their goals going to change after they met these people? Okay, kind of like Esperanza. She wanted a new house. She doesn't like the yucky house she's living in now. She wants a new one. She's being selfish, right? She doesn't appreciate what she has. She just wants a fancy new house. But then she meets these 3 creepy old ladies who kind of make her feel bad for wishing for that. Maybe she should have wished for something better to help other people. Okay, so now that's how her goals have changed after she's met these people. So, main character's name, new character or characters that your person's gonna meet, and think about these things. How are you gonna describe them? What are they gonna talk about? It doesn't have to be creepy. Okay, and then on page 144 and 145, there's a ton of space for you to write your new chapter. Okay, so you need to explain a situation in which your main character meets new people. How are they dressed? What do they look like? How do they act? What are their personalities like? And what do they talk about? And do your character's aspirations change during this chapter? Maybe their goals are different. Maybe they have the same goals, but something has changed about how they're going to reach their goals. Okay? So that's all you got to do for this lesson. It's been about half an hour. Writing this should take you a little bit of time. If you want to write more than this, don't forget there's all these pages in the very back. Creative space pages. You can add more, okay? And then I will see you back here tomorrow for lesson 11. Bye-bye.